I'm getting something on the distress channel.
Under the neutral zone in 1 minute, Captain.
Now entering the neutral zone.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Neutral Zone. This is your host, Josh, with his pal, John. How you doing, John?
I'm doing great today, and we have a lot to unpack on this episode. But, Josh, before we get into it, I wanted to mention a couple of things. Comments from our viewers from last week on our YouTube channel weren't too thrilled with us and our little, we were not too happy about all the time travel. They kind of took issue with us and said that they like the time travel, lay off the whole negative time travel thing. So I, of course, responded by saying we went back in time and redid that episode. So, but you know, it is hard. And again, I think we want to just emphasize the fact that it's not that we don't like time travel. It's a neat little thing, obviously from H.G. Wells, wasn't it? He did Time Machine, right?
He did, yeah.
I mean, it's always been a great topic. It's just you don't want to overuse it, and we feel like it's been a little bit overused. And I have a feeling we're going to talk a little bit more because we later in this episode, because we're going to talk about the upcoming episodes of Star Trek Discovery. And it looks like there's going to be more time stuff going on. But we appreciate your comments. It's a neutral zone, so everybody gets to, have an opinion, and it's all good. Also, we had one of our viewers mentioned the fact that we hadn't done our research because they said that in fact, the Cage episode had happened before Discovery. And in fact, they were right, because we were thinking perhaps it was going to be after this. At least that's what we were kind of given some indications for. So again, we stand corrected, and we love our well-read fans.
Yeah, so I thought the episode was really good last night.
I thought so too.
Frankly, I liked the whole opening with the original.
I wanted to ask you about that. How you felt about that?
I thought it was cool. I thought they did a good job with it. It was kind of a neat take on the whole thing, I thought.
I thought it was too. I was a little stunned by it. I didn't expect them to do it. It was very much a tip of the hat to the original series, and that I felt like it was Discovery saying, we are the original series. We're part of it. We may not look like it because of the technology of today, but it was a little bit of a throw to go from from the old show with Leonard Nimoy and Jeffrey Hunter to the new show, and it was a little bit like, okay, it was an odd transition for me because it kind of took me out of the reality back in, but I'm glad they did it. I thought it was a gutsy move, and I think it was a tip of the hat to those of us who are original series fans to say, yeah, we care about this. What was your thoughts? And this one was I thought again a nicely paced episode.
I thought the whole thing was great. I thought the whole thing between, is her name Lena? Is that
Vina? I believe
Vina from the Talos IV, and even her sort of relationship to Spock was kind of neat. But of course, the relationship to Captain Pike was excellent. I thought they really did that well, and kind of showed the bond that they had between each other in the way that the Menagerie showed it. Tried to show it at the end. Of that particular episode. So I just thought it was really. I thought it was really well done. I thought that the action was good in terms of the Section 31 sort of threatening Pike, and the sort of the trick that they pulled, the Talosians pulled. They beamed up the illusions, and even the say goodbye Spock, goodbye Spock. I thought it was all good, and I know that we're going to talk about this in a second, but I even thought the relationship between Burnham and Spock was really good. However, of course, I know that you have an issue with sort of the catalyst to the difficulty in their relationship. So why don't you talk about that for a second,
Well,
John?
yeah, let me just kind of comment on a couple things you said. First of all, I thought the Talos IV, I thought, and again, kind of being the TV guy here, I thought the production design that they did on the Talos IV was great. They obviously reused the little noise-making plants and used the same sound effect probably from the 60s episode. I thought that was, again, as Star Trek fans, we appreciate that you don't have to reinvent everything, and they did a nice upgrade to that. And the color scheme looked like it had those gray color schemes as the original one, so that was very nice. And also, I agree with you. I really like the this interesting tension. It's almost Kirk and Spock like between Pike and Ash, and it's really getting interesting as they seem to want the same thing, but they don't completely trust each other, and that's again when we talk about character development in Star Trek, that's the stuff we want to see. We don't want to really see a whole lot get into in depth to their past or what they went through, but we really like seeing that conflict a little bit where it gets them to their final goal. The Spock Burnham thing. This is where, and it seems like, again, we're positive. We always say we're positive. We have people say we're negative about Discovery, but I think we're pretty positive. But there does seem to always be that one moment in Star Trek in Discovery where we go, and this one was this build-up they've had all since the very first episode, that Michael and Spock had this incredible, horrible moment, and Burnham wrecked his life. And, there were rumors that it was a romantic relationship. It was, some kind of weird thing going on. So you could tell, I think, the fan base was basically like, this is going to be serious. I personally thought it was some kind of mind meld, that maybe she, did something, evil to him or something. And then when they finally get to it, it's like, okay, here it is. We're finally going to find out. She called him some names and said he was a half-breed in order to make him go away like a dog. And I'm like, I don't know who the writers of Star Trek are, if they have kids or not, but I know if you hang around my kids, you'll hear a lot worse stuff than that every morning from my kids. So this was a little bit of a letdown. And then even in the Burnham Spock talk afterwards, Spock's like, well, I knew why you did it. Well, I hated that I did this. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So that was a little bit of I don't know what you guys were thinking there. That's the only really what I would call a dip in the episode. The rest of it I thought was great, and the question I have is, as we see the Section 31 thing unfold, and next week's going to be interesting too, is I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where we're going to go from here in Season 3, because they can't keep Pike on Discovery. Pike and Spock have to go back to Enterprise, and I don't know how Season 3 is going to work, Josh, without Pike on there, because he is just a great character.
Yeah, I think that he's been my favorite character the whole season, frankly.
My theory is, and I hate to say this, and there's a few, there's a lot of Star Trek YouTube channels, and some of them I disagree with, some of them I kind of go, and there's a couple of them who've been saying all along that they believe the Red Angel is Burnham, and I've been like, no, it's not going to be Burnham, and I have to say, as of episode 7 going into 8 now, or 8 going into 9 rather, I'm beginning to think we are going to find out the Red Angel is a future Burnham. And I don't know how that's going to unfold, but I have some theories that we are heading into a complete reboot of Discovery at the end of this. I just feel like in my gut that's where they're heading. They're going to do something with time, and it's going to completely reboot the Discovery, possibly even take it back before the Klingon conflict of last season and Lorca. Maybe make it that Burnham is not Spock's brother. Maybe her parents are saved. I don't know. I feel like that's where the writers are going. I feel like Season 2 is just like, let's erase all of Season 1 and start over again in Season 3.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. I think we're going to be surprised when the Red Angel's Han Solo.
Well, nobody would be, because he was killed, so I guess he'd have to go back in time since whatever the last Star Wars was, which I can't even keep track. There was one moment, and something I don't know if you felt this at all, Josh, because Josh and I are also big Battlestar Galactica fans. This show was shot differently. The director, I can't remember who did this one. A lot of wide-angle lenses, a lot of the twist things, which I'm really getting over, the whole JJ look of the cameras doing the Z-axis thing. But the scene where Hugh comes and confronts Ashfaq in the cafeteria there on Discovery, the soundtrack and the way it felt for a moment, I thought it was similar to Battlestar Galactica whenever the blonde Cylon would walk in. It had that kind of feel. Did you pick up that vibe? But maybe it was just me.
I didn't think of that until you just brought it up, but I thought it was a good scene. I thought it was interesting that Saru let them fight.
Yes,
I thought that was interesting, and I don't know what they're going to do with the Doctor there, but it's interesting what they're doing. That he's really not the same guy. That's pretty clear to what's going on there. So
I appreciate the fact that they haven't just he's back like in the old Star Trek and original series where whoever just gets her memory back 2 days later. that he has come back and he's got issues, and I do appreciate the writers not taking us down what would be a standard storyline there on that, and that's and I don't know if he's done now. It's going to be interesting, but I thought that was, I agree, that was a fun scene. It was fun to see Saru saying, "Let it play out," and I also like. Josh, did you like the scene with Saru and Captain Pike with the whole uniform conduct code?
Yeah, I thought that was
speech?
good. Yeah. I thought the whole episode was good. I thought that interaction was good as well. Well, because Pike's a great character, and I think that they've done a really great job of bringing that character back. Way better than the JJ movies did.
Mm-hmm. Well, Josh, let me ask you this, and this is one of the concerns I have, and you're a little bit more of the Section 31 expert than I am, because I know they showed up in Deep Space Nine and a lot of newer episodes that I'm not quite as familiar with, and I know there was a little bit on Enterprise. But one of the concerns I've seen in this series is, and we saw it in the JJ movies a little bit, the original Roddenberry theory on Star Trek is that we're a little bit more evolved, we don't play games, the Federation is one of the greatest institutions of all time. Yet it seems like in Discovery and a lot of these other shows, we're showing it's like Starfleet's hands are tied. It's like Section 31 is like the KGB, and they're completely running the show here. And it's a little, I granted it's darker, but it just seems odd. How do you feel the Section 31 is playing out here on Discovery?
I mean, it makes sense to what they're supposed to be doing. I guess it's not Roddenberry's sort of clean Trek, of TNG. I would say that I think we have to keep in mind that it's all since Battlestar Galactica probably it's all about, and The Sopranos, it's all about anti-heroes and gritty reboots and stuff. So I think that's what they're trying to work in here. So I think that's the case. I would like to point out that throughout the Next Generation, with the exception of maybe one admiral, the one that was the head of the fight in Deep Space Nine. I can't think of his name, but
yes,
they're all pretty corrupt. The admirals,
they all had issues.
Yeah. So I mean, Insurrection was about a bad admiral, and Admiral Nechayev was a bad admiral, and they're all the worm people were admirals. So I just there was this thing where the hierarchy, and even Jim Kirk when he became an admiral wasn't the best guy.
No,
he
didn't do
so
what he was supposed to do.
There's this ambivalence toward authority that goes through all of Star Trek, and even Commodore Decker, and I know he wasn't an admiral, but Commodore Decker in the Doomsday Machine, kind of a nut job, So
yeah. And Kirk never, it was always Kirk going against admirals all the time. The word is no, we are therefore going anyway. So
yeah, so I mean, your question's about Section 31, but there's always been this sort of tension with the authority sort of people. That's if there's tension in Star Trek, at least from the Roddenberry Star Trek, and I think we're kind of far away from that at this point, but
yeah,
from Roddenberry Star Trek, there's always been that tension between authority and doing what's right. So I don't think it's outside of the spirit of what Roddenberry would have wanted.
Well, they definitely have made Section 31 out to be the villain. I don't think anybody is ready to say the Red Angel is bad. We definitely know Spock wasn't bad. The only other villain we have, and we assume it's a villain, is whatever's going on with starts with an A, the cyborg bridge officer, which they didn't mess with that other than we know she's sending messages. So, Josh, I have to ask the question, are we dealing with a 23rd century Borg issue here with her, possibly?
I have no idea what she is. They never really developed that character beyond, the beeps and the bops and her, doing the head movements and stuff. So who knows what she is? I mean,
and the little claw thing that took over the shuttle one of the things that did throw me into the Borg thing, and I had it in the back of my head, and I think most Star Trek people keep it in there, is they said that there was no debris of the claw or whatever it was that was on the shuttle, which I, again, go back to, Best of Both Worlds and all those episodes where basically the Borg disintegrate and leave no physical trace. So, again, they could be opening up a whole nother can of worms by bringing the Borg into this. The cool thing, again, as we said, is being Battlestar Galactica fans, if they had made the little red dot go back and forth with a little... That would have been cool. Let's bring the Cylons into Star Trek. Why not? Apparently, Discovery is getting sued by everybody else for stealing characters, so, I mean, why not do that one? That would be fun. So
I don't know what she is. I don't know if she's a cyborg or if she's a. I don't know. Who knows what
I don't know.
is? A Binar. Maybe she's a Binar.
Oh, Binar. I hadn't thought of that one. So that's digging into the Next Generation season 1 there. Well, here's what we know what's going on. On IMDb, and I'm sure a lot of people track on that, we have the current episodes. Obviously, we just crossed through episode 8 last night. Episode 9 next week is called Project Daedalus, which, if we remember, Daedalus was a probe or was it a ship? I can't remember. Daedalus was a ship, I believe.
I believe it was a ship, yeah, or a ship class, even.
Yeah, matter of fact, I think Daedalus was the one that they did in the Next Generation where they found where the spirits took over some of the crew. I think that may have been a Daedalus. We'll have to check that. I'm sure our fans are already writing us nasty notes telling us that we got it wrong, but that's okay. That's why we love them. So that's Project Daedalus. We do know that is written by, I think it's Michelle Paradise, who is currently on this season a producer and a writer. She is going to be the showrunner for next year. So this will be the first episode we really see what she has to offer, because a lot of people say she's a very good Star Trek fan, and she's going to be great with this. And she's also writing the last 2 episodes, so that'll tell us a lot. The episode after that, episode 10, is called The Red Angel. So it looks like we're going head on with that pretty soon. And then episode 11 is called Perpetual Infinity, which again sounds like we're going into more time travel stuff. And then episodes 12 through 14, there are no titles on IMDb. I'm sure that the shows are well into post-production by this point because they are scheduled to air. I mean, we're going to be done with Discovery Bay by before the end of April. So it's going to be,
okay.
We're going to find out what's going on there. So, Josh, any major predictions at this point? Can you see anything where they could be going with this with the season finale?
No, I don't know where they're going, frankly, half the time, and I don't know. I'm just sort of enjoying it as it's going, as it's unfolding.
Yeah.
I think they've done a good job. It's been entertaining, especially the last couple episodes have been entertaining, and I don't know. We'll see. I'm not really making a lot of speculations because I think that's what they want us to do, and then.
Yeah.
And then they're going to twist it on us anyway. So I don't know. I'm just kind of enjoying it. I don't have any real speculations about what's going on.
I have to assume that they are going to. I just can't imagine them pulling Pike into one more season. I think that would really shake the canon up a little bit. I do think we're going to end up with a bookend of the Enterprise and Discovery meeting, the big transfer, Spock and Pike back off. And then, if they do, as I'm kind of thinking they might do, and reshuffle the series or reshuffle the timeline, this is an opportunity you and I have talked about where we could see maybe next year they bring in a Captain Decker onto Discovery or somebody else that we are a little bit familiar with but we don't know a lot about. I hope they don't go back to Lorca, or they could shuffle the timeline and maybe bring back the original Giorgio, which I've really enjoyed Section 31 and her and that captain's little conflict. They really have fine-tuned some better chemistry into these last half of the season. And like you, I enjoy these episodes. I think the last 2 episodes were probably my top favorite episodes of this season so far. Not completely perfect, but really enjoyable. And I really didn't have high expectations for this episode, and it actually kind of blew me away. I thought it was pretty good. So it's going to be interesting. By the way, Josh, what did you think of the one line that got a laugh out of me was, of course, how's the beard working for you?
Yeah, that was good. And the goodbye Spock, it was a funny little moment.
I had seen it in the trailers and had wondered how they were going to work it in because it's kind of a cheesy line, but when they did it in that context,
good.
It worked and it was good. So again, we tend to a lot of us are hard on the writers, but I do think they do get some good stuff in. And we're going into a 3rd season with this. It'll be interesting. So, what other thoughts or comments you have, Josh, on everything going on?
No, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. So, and the rest of our little chats here in the neutral zone.
Well, we didn't do this in a while, and we should do this. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a warp rating. We haven't done this since a while because honestly, some of the episodes weren't that good, so we didn't do it. But I'm going to say probably a warp 8 on this one. What do you think?
Warp 8, warp 8.5. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'd love to have your comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know what we got wrong. And please share us. We've got a lot of people tuning in for the first time. We're a different kind of podcast because we do think Discovery's got a lot of great potential, and we haven't written it off yet. And if you're like us and you want to see more of Discovery and see where they're going to go and kind of enjoy the ride with us, please share us and follow us on YouTube and Twitter and everything else that we've got going on.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us here in the Neutral Zone, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper.